Hey there, Internet friends. Trevor Starkey here with another episode of Wrestling Wednesday. This week I'm going to continue on talking about the Mae Young Classic, which I started and talked a little bit about last week. Last week I didn't really go into too much detail because it was just the first round of 32, narrowing down to the round of 16. This week, the 4 episodes that they released go from 16 down to 8, down to 4, and down to the final 2. The final 2 are going to be facing off next Tuesday, presumably after SmackDown and 205 Live in Las Vegas, as like the culmination of the Mae Young Classic. So if you haven't watched anything up to this point, I am going to get into like who wins and loses and who has some good showings and stuff. So you have been warned. If you want to hold off and not, if you haven't watched it yet, you want to hold off, that's fine, cool. Go watch it on the WWE Network. I would say, and I touched on this I think a little bit last week with some friends online, I think you can probably skip the first 4 episodes, the round of 32, and just kind of go straight into the round of 16 with episode 5. The first, they were doing kind of 4 matches a night, or 4 matches an episode in that first little block. And so none of them were really being given all that much time, because you have, 5 minutes of saying who these people are, and then you really only had like 5-minute matches kind of thing, probably. So the first round just didn't really give people much time to shine. Especially unfortunate for the 16 people that went home after that first round. But I think here in rounds 2, 3, and 4, they do a much better job of kind of connecting you with these people. I didn't know like any of these people coming into this, and by the time we got down to the final 8 or the final 4 or the final 2 especially, I was like, oh yeah, like I'm rooting for this person because I've seen what they can do, and I think I've seen their style, and that's I think what I want to see. So and yeah, you just don't get that too much in the first 4 episodes, as they kind of whittle things down a little bit. So with that, I'm going to start talking about who won and lost, so you have been warned. So up first in the round of 16, we had 2 surprises, for me at least, because you had Abby Laith winning over Rachel Evers, and you had Piper Niven winning over Serena Deeb. And Evers and Deeb surprised me as both losing, because I think both of them had connections to like existing WWE. You had Evers being the daughter of the guy who runs the Authors of Pain, and I think also managed like the Legion of Doom or something. I don't know. But like big time manager. She's like his daughter, so I was like, oh, I figured she would go at least a little bit further in the ring, but no. And then Serena Deeb, as they kind of highlight, was part of CM Punk's Straight Edge Society, but behind the scenes she was battling drugs and drinking and stuff. So I don't know if drugs, but drinking at least they cop to. So this was kind of like her comeback tour, and so given that she had like a history with WWE, I figured she had a pretty good shot at going at least a little bit further again. But Abby Laith and Piper Niven, both really strong competitors. Abby had it was like a protege of Mae Young kind of thing, kind of adopted some of Mae Young's moves, so it makes sense, I guess, that they kept her going in the tournament a little bit. And then Piper Niven is basically the big woman of the tournament. She was the Nia Jax type character, I guess, the powerhouse that you don't know how somebody's going to stop her, just because she is such a presence. But so both of them took it, so cool. Up next, you had Mercedes Martinez taking out Princessa Shuhei, which makes sense, especially where we go down the line. Princessa Shuhei is one of the ones that like I will remember, even though she lost out of the round of 16, because she had the luchador mask, and she did have that kind of lucha underground kind of prestige behind her. And you also had, of course, Kairi Sane winning over Bianca Belair. This was a very fun match, I thought. Kairi Sane, in kind of all of these, Kairi Sane has been put to, she is like the last match of the night. So it leads me to think that they're kind of gonna give it to her as the runaway hit, because she ends up being the headliner effectively of each round here. And in this one, in this episode, you had her and Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair being very clever and like using her really, really long hair braid as a whip and just like whipping Kairi Sane. It was a fun little kind of heelish, very heelish tactic, and kind of, again, she's another one that I will remember coming out of this because they gave her something to really work with. In the second episode of round 2, you had Toni Storm winning over Lacey Evans. Lacey Evans, I believe, is in NXT. She's the kind of all-American, I want to see like Navy SEAL alum. But then Toni Storm is the like crazy, rebellious, punk rock Aussie woman. Both of them, I think, great character work, and I think Toni taking the win here. I could have seen it go either way, but I think Toni getting the win. I thought she had some great stuff in that match, and yeah, lots of fun there. And presumably Lacey Evans doesn't need it. If she's already on NXT. And again, I don't know because I don't really watch NXT, but I believe that's kind of how she was being like billed. So if I'm wrong about that, sorry. Let me know in the comments below. You had Shayna Baszler winning over Mia Yim. Shayna Baszler being billed as basically like she is one of the 4 horsewomen of MMA, and so she's being booked to go far, and they're having kind of a fun rivalry between the 4 horsewomen of WWE versus the 4 horsewomen of MMA, and Shayna Baszler coming in here like really demonstrating that she is the submission person, she is the fighter, and she like wins via submission over Mia Yim, and won't break the hold afterwards, really giving her some heel heat as well in a very engaging, interesting way. You have Dakota Kai beating Rhea Ripley, and now I feel bad because we're at like a couple of people where I'm like, I don't remember which one Rhea Ripley was. Oh no, I do. Rhea Ripley was this super young woman, bigger girl, well, not bigger girl, but like taller, more imposing, but like only 20 years old or something. And Dakota Kai being like smaller, faster, more experienced, kind of took out Rhea Ripley in a very interesting, and Dakota Kai being like New Zealander, not that matters anything, but like that's what I remember from these matches. And then lastly, we had Candice LeRae winning over Nicole Savoy. Candice LeRae being Mrs. Johnny Gargano of NXT and DIY fame. So she, kind of gets that added push here, I think, because of her connection to WWE and the close linkage there. So yeah, a lot of good matches here in this second round, whittling us down to 8. Very cool stuff. And then taking that 8 and whittling it down to 4 in the third round, you had Abby Laith losing to Mercedes Martinez, and you had Piper Niven losing to Toni Storm. Both of those matches, phenomenal. This is where we really got to see a lot of kind of in-ring psychology and good in-ring storytelling and stuff. Mercedes kind of being billed as, both Mercedes and Abby Laith were being billed as like 2 of the most experienced people in the tournament, and Mercedes being like 16 years of this has all been leading up to this point. So it was good to see them give kind of her due and the win here. And then Piper Niven and Toni Storm, just a great match. They had a great bit at the beginning of the match where they were kind of pinning and then getting one shoulder up and then get the other shoulder up and then getting both shoulders up and doing like an arch kind of thing. And they both kind of did it in unison for a little bit there and end up kind of like shaking hands while in an arched position. It was like great, just a fun moment in the tournament. All throughout all of this stuff, they had like they're just great respect between all the women. That was one of the great things I really appreciated was, they do the end of each match, they're like, and your winner is so-and-so, and it always just ends up with, like, a hug and tears between the two combatants. They're, like, with the exception of, again, Shayna Baszler being billed as, like, hard-ass MMA person who doesn't, doesn't respect any of these people or whatever, getting that heat. But, the match between Piper and Tony, like, both of them showcased really well. Lots of good stuff there. Then you have Kairi Sane winning over Dakota Kai. Again, Kairi Sane seems to be getting, like, super push, and she's, super charismatic and super entertaining. So it makes sense, I think. I think it's a good choice. I think her winning over Dakota Kai was a great choice. I forgot to mention, like, Dakota Kai had one of the most, like, ingenious finishes that I'd seen in the match against Rhea Ripley, where her finale is basically like a coup de grace a la Finn Balor, with her doing, like, the 2-foot stomp. And she did it on Rhea Ripley, like, while Rhea Ripley was hung up on the turnbuckle in the ropes in the Tree of Woe. So she's, like, upside down, and she basically, like, sat up in that, like, hanging upside down position, and Dakota Kai stomped her, like, and knocked her down and off the Tree of Woe and got the pin there. It was a really smart finish. She tried to do the same thing here, but missed, and they'd really been playing up. It was like, I don't know if it was a work or a shoot, but she was really playing up here, an injured leg, that started out really subtle, and that was why I was like, oh, like, it looks like she really hurt her leg at some point in that match, and she may have, I don't know, but then they really kind of played into it, and that ended up being, like, when she misses the coup de grace kind of thing there, she hit, and just, like, her knee gave out kind of thing, and Kairi was able to kind of turn the tables and get her crazy, amazing elbow. So Kairi again wins there, and it was again another beautiful, like, the two of them embracing and hugging afterwards was just, like, very charming and touching. And then you had Shayna Baszler and Candice LeRae going at it, and Shayna Baszler winning here. So you have, again, kind of powerhouse submission grappler taking the win there, and again continuing to really fuel a four horsewomen versus four horsewomen kind of thing. So down in our round 4 of 4 people, you had Shayna Baszler and Mercedes Martinez, who it was revealed here. I don't think it had come up earlier. It may have, but Shayna Baszler basically trained under Mercedes Martinez, so it was it makes sense, really, seeing how this kind of was all building to this point of, like, student and master, and again, they're really pushing Shayna Baszler hard, and especially giving her, like, the heel heat of being, like, big bad grappling submission person, and she ends up winning over her mentor, her teacher. And this is the one place where we get, like, a show of respect from Shayna Baszler, which was a really nice touch. Like, she didn't shake anybody else's hands before the match, but she shook Mercedes' hands. Both of them had a great kind of grapple fest and a lot of kind of trading submission holds. Just really good stuff all around here. And Shayna Baszler took it. And then you had Kairi Sane and Toni Storm going at it, and this was another one that, like, just phenomenal back and forth storytelling. Like, I would love to see both of these women continue on and do stuff in WWE. You had like taking out each other's, like, power moves. So you had Kairi Sane going for Toni Storm's back, so she couldn't hit her finisher. You had Toni Storm doing, like, it looked like really painful damage on Kairi Sane's arm. Like it looked like it was just bending, like, all of the wrong ways. You had, like, high flying moves off of the ropes into, like, the steel grating of the ramp, and, like, you could see the grate on Kairi's face. So yeah, like, lots of really great stuff here. Toni Storm hit her finish, but Kairi kicked out, and then Kairi was able to kind of turn the tables again, hit the elbow, and win over Toni Storm. So in the finals on Tuesday, we will have Kairi Sane versus Shayna Baszler, which, looking at it in retrospect, is how it was always going to end. It was how it had to have ended, because you have basically like fan favorite character Kairi Sane, small, agile, high flying kind of character, and then you have like big, gruff, like take no shit, heelish kind of Shayna Baszler MMA person. So it's gonna be a good match to see how those two match up. I'm hoping they give it to Kairi, and I think they're gonna have, like I said, a kind of a sub story in there of 4 horsewomen versus 4 horsewomen. They kind of tease it throughout different points. This was all recorded a few months ago, back before Bayley's shoulder injury, so I don't know if that's going to play into anything, if they might kind of have to have scrapped something like that. But really good stuff, really great wrestling, especially in the last couple of rounds there when they were given time to breathe, and you have 15-minute matches and stuff. Just really great stuff, really grueling, really like some of the best wrestling I think I've seen all year. And like lots of just powerful, strong, talented women. So really great to see. Looking forward to seeing how it wraps up on Tuesday between Kairi Sane and Shayna Baszler. If you've been following along with the Mae Young Classic, let me know what you think about the tournament in the comments below. As always, I've been your host, Trevor Starkey from TrevorTrove.com. You can follow me at SnarkyStarkey on Twitter. And until next time, from here at the Trove, treasure your friends.